This episode of Ladder Legacy is proudly sponsored by the Bedford Group Insurance, helping families and businesses protect what matters most. Whether it's coverage for your home, your family, your team, or your future, Bedford's got your back with the best reliable insurance solutions in Florida. Visit our website to learn more, bedfordinsurance.com. And now on to your episode.
Hey everybody, this is Rudy Romero from Ladder Legacy. I am here today with Dawn Parry from Green Compass. Green Compass is a community founded by visionaries, community thought leaders, and wellness shifters looking to empower, heal, and cultivate opportunity. Above all, they're a family committed to sharing, restoring hope of clean organic hemp. Thank you, Dawn, for coming on today. The first thing everybody's going to have the question, are you selling marijuana? Is this hemp? What are you doing? Because I know that's going to be the first question everyone and their grandmother is going to have. So tell me a little bit about Green Compass and what you guys are up to today.
Thank you, Rudy. Yes, that is the first question I get, and I actually get 3 questions. That's at the top of the list, and that's one of the myths. I call it the myth buster. They are the same family, so cannabis is the same family, but hemp is a supplement or superfood, and it's very high in CBD and other cannabinoids and trace amounts of THC, whereas marijuana, which is a drug, and actually FDA is regulating that as a drug, is high in THC and trace amounts of CBD. So one is a drug, and I like to say that marijuana is for the feels and hemp is for the heals.
Ooh, is that trademarked yet? If it's not, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's how I explain it. So one's more for pleasure and feelings, like to feel something. And the other is a supplement, a superfood, and it's actually the absence of feeling something. So the absence of feeling anxious, the absence of feeling overwhelmed, the absence of feeling stressed. So whereas marijuana actually gives you a feeling.
Interesting.
They're very different, and a really easy way to think of it is if you go to a citrus orchard and you say, okay, I'm going to go pick some citrus, and you get a basket full of oranges, a basket full of lemons, a basket full of limes. They're all citrus, but they're different. They're cousins. So that's with the cannabis family. It's the same thing.
Interesting. That's very informative. And I think that's always the biggest thing when people talk about healing, health, wellness, all of that, and they see the picture of that marijuana plant or hemp plant, the first thing they think of is, oh my gosh, am I going to get in trouble? But what you guys are doing is not the exciting, pain relieving sense of having fun and partying. You're talking about helping people heal. Now, how does hemp differ from marijuana in that sense with the cannabinoids versus the CBD? What is it that it truly unlocks to help these people?
Yes. So with marijuana, it actually gives you a feeling, and you, depending on what strain you're using, it can actually exasperate anxiousness and sleeplessness depending on the person and what they're experiencing at that time. It's also inflammatory. So because it's a drug, it inflames your brain, whereas hemp is anti-inflammatory, and it actually fills the receptors in your brain that help prevent the side effects of drugs. So ironically, I tell my 4 adult children, if you're going to drink alcohol or take any type of pharmaceutical, have CBD first, because it will protect your brain from the side effects of whatever drug it is that you're taking.
That's amazing. So there is something out there that can help you stay off maybe some of that cursory. Is it helpful enough for the hangover cure? Does CBD help in any way? Because that's,
yes,
I mean,
definitely.
Really? Okay, so that's amazing.
It's a neuroprotector. So
these college kids are missing out.
Yes, it's a neuroprotector. So it protects your brain, and it's anti-inflammatory, which will help with hangovers for sure.
Interesting. Okay. And I know this is going to be definitely a rabbit hole I want to go down, but before I even go down that I wanted to get that out of the way for all the viewers first, because I know everyone's going to see this and be like, oh my gosh, what are they talking about today? But at least now we're all on the same page. We're not talking about illicit drugs that make you excited. We're talking about healing you. And I loved your soon to be hopefully trademark statement, because if that isn't, I think you are onto something right there. So tell me about Green Compass. Tell me about why they're different than everybody else, and how you started working with Green Compass.
Well, about 8 years ago, I had read so much about hemp and the hemp plant and how healthy it was, but it wasn't legal in our country. You could purchase it and the billing would go through Mexico or somewhere else, and that was okay, but you couldn't buy it at a store or whatever. And so I tried many different CBDs. A lot of them were like places in Colorado or people would make them. And I never really saw any like extreme benefits, maybe mentally, like the placebo effect. But I was introduced to Green Compass 4 years ago and decided to give it another chance after trying several different brands. And it was also made legal about 7 years ago. And now you can shop and go through all different brands and see which one you like best. And I thought that Green Compass, to me, was the gold standard when I had my checklist of what I was looking for in a brand. And it was definitely a difference right off the bat. I saw a difference with my husband within a day. It took me a couple of weeks. And like I mentioned before, it's not a drug. It's not meant to treat or cure any illness or disease. Like, we can't make those claims.
Yeah.
But what it actually does in your body is what helps your body heal itself, which I can get into a little bit more on that. So I started taking it 4 years ago because I was overwhelmed and stressed. And my husband was a semi-pro hockey player, and he had, at the time when I placed my order, he was soaking his ankles in an ice bucket. And he had a lot of injuries playing hockey and several concussions. And he just was like, I want to try this. And he cannot take any pharmaceuticals or any medication due to other reasons. And we decided as a couple, like, let's give this a try. So we bought everything and we just said, let's just try it all. And we saw a difference right away. And I decided that this was going to be something I want to share with other people to help other people. I had a full-time job. So I did this on the side. And within a year, I surpassed my income and decided to resign from my full-time job and do this into the second half of my life. As you can see, I'm middle-aged. So this is what I'm doing.
Well, that's amazing. So you believed in the product so much that you said, hey, I can leave what I'm doing, what I've been so used to, because you believed in it. And that's amazing, because I think that's one thing. That's part of why I wanted to have you on, because there's such a misconception. I hope to find the other coin, which would be maybe a marijuana or a THC company as well, because I'd love to have you both almost talking about, like you said, the healing effects versus the feeling effects, because I've heard so many claims, and I think people are so jaded about the pharmaceutical world, the GNCs of the world, right? Or even going on Amazon or insert big box store, because there are so many medications and things out there in the world, supplements that don't do anything. They make a lot of claims. Honestly, they make a lot of claims. People get sick. And I think that's the hardest thing, is people are out there trying to find different type of supplements to help them be successful, help them feel better. And they're going through the world trying to find these things, and they're just not finding the right people like yourselves, like Green Compass, who is able to provide such a, well, from my understanding at this point, I'm sure you're going to get into the specifics, a clean alternative to the supplement world. Because I've heard the horror stories and I've heard great stories, and they're really, honestly, they're 50-50. So how did you, when you had that checklist and you were working on it and you were saying, hey, I know CBD is going to help me. I've used it. It's successful. It's finally legal. And I know they're descheduling the other part of the world as well, the opposite side of it, which I'm sure will help in some way encompass a larger opportunity to make people feel better. But what kind of checklist did you make? Because I think the viewers are out there saying, hey, I would love to try this. I've tried other things and they didn't work. You know, what makes it differently? What checklist did you use, or how did you evaluate these things?
So Rudy, the first thing I will say is that all CBD is not created equal, not even close. And it is, I have all my little cliche statements, but it is the wild, wild west out there. And it's very, very dangerous when people will shop online not knowing what they should be looking for. It's also dangerous to go into a gas station or any type of CBD shop and not know what to look for. Over 90% of the products that are labeled are incorrect. It's not regulated.
Wow.
It's a supplement.
90%? That's amazing. That's
Yes,
crazy.
and I will go as far like I have articles that prove all this, and over 70% of the CBD out there is not even necessarily CBD.
So what are they putting in it?
So what they're using are synthetic forms of cannabis, and one of them is Delta 8, and you'll see so THC, there's a Delta 9 version, and then there's a synthetic version that is actually can cause a permanent psychosis of the brain. So what these young people might be doing is going to a gas station or a CBD shop. I say young people because it's really impacting a lot of teens as well, because they'll get vapes and things that have CBD, but they have the synthetic THC as well. They want to get a feeling, and CBD is not going to give them a feeling. So what these companies have done is added a synthetic version of THC to give the consumer a feeling. And that is what can really cause damage. And the other thing that there's a lot of combinations, like people will get like melatonin mixed with CBD, and melatonin does something very different, and you can build a resistance to that. You have to be careful. So the first thing I would say is that you have to have third-party lab testing on whatever product you're using, whatever supplement it is, not even CBD. Any supplement that you use should have third-party lab testing, meaning the labs are not part of the particular company. So Green Compass uses labs to test every product, and there should be full traceability. We're the only manufacturer that traces it back to the actual plant. So when you look, I have a jar here, there's a QR code on every single product. You can scan this and it will trace it back to the actual hemp plant that was picked. And every ingredient is third-party lab tested. So that's the first thing. The second thing that's very important is USDA certified organic. If you see the word organic on something and it doesn't say USDA certified organic, it pretty much is, it most of the time is not. So that word is being thrown around in the food and the food industry. We see the word natural, and I think people are savvy now to understand that natural ingredients could just mean anything. So in the supplement industry, when you see organic and it doesn't say USDA certified, then it probably isn't. And if it is, it has to have this little symbol. It's very difficult to get that symbol. The farms have to be tested for 8 years, and there's a lot that goes into that in order to receive that USDA certified organic, and every single ingredient in the product has to be. So there may be a couple of ingredients that are certified organic, and it will say it when you read the ingredients, but if it doesn't say USDA, then it's probably not. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, in line with that, is vertically integrated type production. So vertically integrated means that everything is done in-house. The seeds, the soil, the harvesting, the extraction, the formulation, the packaging, and the shipping. So truly vertically integrated companies do everything from A to Z. And what you're going to see with that is consistency, and you're going to see integrity in the product. There's very, very few companies that are truly vertically integrated. And next, when you're talking about CBD, you want to only be using the flower of the hemp plant. So the hemp plant, most companies are using, I call them stems and sticks. And this is verified. Over 90% of the hemp that people are consuming in the US comes from China. It's a mitigation. It's used to mitigate the soil, and it's used to take out toxins in the soil and the environment. So they grow it to clean the environment, and then they sell it to other countries that will extract the CBD from it, and you're getting all of those toxins in your products. So the people that are shopping at like a Walmart or a gas station or whatever, they're probably getting hemp that stems and sticks. If you're using the flower only, you're going to get the purest and cleanest extraction as well. So that's the next component, the extraction process. You, from a flower, can be very clean, and we use a CO2 extraction, so there's no harsh chemicals or residues. If you're not using the flower, you have to use harsh chemicals that will be left inside the end product. And another thing you can look for if you're buying hemp is it should say hemp flower extract. If it doesn't say hemp flower extract, then it's probably not the flower only. It can be the whole plant as well, but you're not going to be able to use the same extraction process if it's the whole plant. So all of those things combined, the last thing I'll mention, so I'm kind of doing them in order of how I see it as a priority. The last thing I'll mention is bioavailability. And you said that earlier, that so many people are using supplements, and they can actually hurt you if you're using something that is synthetic. It's being processed through your organs. And if people have liver and kidney issues, like, you can actually be hurting yourself instead of helping yourself. So you want to know that it's bioavailable, and how is it bioavailable? So Green Compass's bioavailability is over 90%, which is unheard of. Most CBD companies are about 3 to 5%. I'm going to say less than 10 to be generous. So I might tell somebody, use this. It's 750 milligrams, and which is a 25 milligram serving. And you're going to see a difference. And they're like, oh, the CBD that I had before is 100 milligrams a serving. And I'm like, well, if you're only getting 10%, you're probably paying for a lot of nothing. And you're going to see better results from something that's bioavailable. And we use a nano emulsification process. So that's a fancy way of saying that the molecules are so tiny that it's actually absorbed through your mouth or through your esophagus before it gets through your digestive tract. So majority of our availability is breaking the blood-brain barrier, and it's getting into your system within 15 to 25 minutes. Whereas something that is not nano-emulsified, that has to go through your digestive tract, can take up to 2 hours, or depending on what it is and how it's used. So, yeah. And Green Compass is the only company in the world that has the dual phase technology with the nano technology, which all that is a fancy way of saying that it has a 24-hour release. So it gets into your bloodstream within 20 minutes, and it can stay up to 24 hours, whereas the other products that are being manufactured have a 4 to 8 hour max as far as how it stays in your system. And our bodies, we make it, but when we take it as a supplement, it doesn't build up in your body. It actually only lasts up to a day, up to 24 hours. So that's why it is considered a supplement. That's something that you take daily. And I can get more into why you would want to take it daily.
Yeah, I think it's just so interesting. Again, from an outsider's perspective, I had no idea the supplement world was so tricky, we'll call it, to be able to get into that depth of information. So it's a lot to unpack. So I guess what are consumers, when they go on to the gas stations and everywhere else, and they're seeing these things, how are they able? I'd say duped is the wrong word, but they really are being duped by these other companies, right? And not calling out anyone specific, just in general, they go to insert name of company, gas station that has a market. Why? How are they able to get away with this stuff if it's
unregulated?
And so what is the is there a process in which they're going to try and regulate it at this point? Because I can't imagine people aren't getting sick. I remember, and this is
Yes.
definitely different, like bath salts or things that were being done in the last, decade that were being sold at gas stations, or people were getting sick, or like you said, the Delta products and stuff. I mean, I just don't understand how the FDA can look at that as and again, I don't know what I don't know, so I don't want to throw, shade at the FDA, but that sounds like something that would be important and that they should
Yes.
be regulating, and people like yourselves in Green Compass should be the ones that everyone's saying, hey, go to them. So then how did
Mhm.
Green Compass, I mean, obviously you said it's been around for about 7-8 years now. How did they figure
Yes.
all this out? Because it just sounds like they decided to do something totally different than everybody else.
Yes. So there's a couple things that, from what you said, to unpack. Okay. As far as, I'll start with the regulation, and then we'll back up to how this company started and why, because that's relevant. Right now, there's actually 6 bills that are in federal bills, and they're looking to ban hemp because of the gross malpractice, or whatever you want to call it, maluse of this system that's unregulated, and because of the health impact that it can have when people are abusing it using synthetics. And they've actually banned it. I believe it's up to 11 states that they don't have CBD shops anymore. Like, you can buy it, we can ship it to every state, it's legal, but they're not allowed to sell it and have the CBD shops anymore, because they're doing the most harm in a lot of the states. And it's accessible to anyone, so a teenager can get it. And so we are in Washington, D.C. We are at the Hemp Roundtable. So that is our place there. Green Compass has a seat at this table, and we are considered the gold standard. So they are using our practices as a standard for everyone else. So no matter what bill gets passed out of these 6, we are always going to be able to provide products to our clientele. And what would happen is it would shut down a lot of other brands and manufacturers. There are some manufacturers that only do direct ship, they don't sell in stores, and they're not even allowed to ship in certain states that have already deemed them as being not above board. So it's already starting, we're already starting to see a cleaning out of it. So we're trying to clean up this industry by providing certain guidelines that are acceptable. And the government recognizes this as a very powerful tool for health and wellness. They just want to make sure that it's safe. And they are threatening to ban it in order to have some sort of regulation placed in this space and separate hemp as a supplement in a separate category that it would be regulated. So that's where we're at right now, and this process can take. The bill went into effect the last fall, and we have a year before it's supposed to go into effect as far as banning hemp. But in that time, we are working to come up with a solution, and no matter what bill is actually passed and put into place, Green Compass will still be in business because of our practices. And there's a couple of other companies that are also at the Hemp Roundtable. And we are, like I said, we're the gold standard. So that's comforting for me, because I know that this is something that my whole family uses, including my dogs. And we know how we feel about our pets, and we feel about grandma, like we want to give them good stuff. So that kind of leads me into why this started and how it started. It wasn't something that someone said, oh, I want to start a CBD company. By the way, Rudy, if you went on right now and you went to your search engine and you put in CBD, you'll get a pop-up that says, would you like to have your own CBD? Just tell us what you want on your label. And they will send you something, and you have no idea what it is. You can put Rudy Romero's CBD, and you could go and sell it to everyone. That's how bad it is. And you don't even know what it is. I mean, I had one woman say, this is so much cheaper than Green Compass. And I looked at it, the oil was pink. And I was like, you have no idea what this is.
Yeah, that's not, there's nothing
And
good in the world of drugs that are pink,
right,
just for the record. So
right.
hopefully
Yeah.
everyone understands that. Fentanyl is pink, just so everyone is aware of that. Ex-law enforcement. So I'm aware of some of these fun
So
and exciting
know.
facts, but
Yes.
that's it's just crazy to
Yeah,
me to think
it's
that.
yeah, and the founders is actually a mom, and she had just had her second son. She had a toddler, and she was experiencing depressive thoughts. And her brother, who was an athlete, very like highly competitive athlete, said, I use hemp CBD to help me with my athletic recovery and inflammation. And I've read how much it can help with our depressive thoughts, with stress, anxiety, all those things. And I think you should try it. And it's safe because, of course, she was breastfeeding and everything. So she decided to try it, and it really was helping her. And her toddler was having a lot of anxiousness, I think, around having the sibling and her mom not being well, like she wasn't herself at all. And she wanted to give it to him. And before she did that, she started looking at that checklist. Like, I want to make sure that it checks all those boxes. And she couldn't find anything that was. So her brother, they are in North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, and they are very close to 6th generation hemp farmers there. And they asked them if they would be willing to produce this clean version. And they did. And slowly but surely, everybody wanted it. Her mom wanted it for sleep. This one wanted it for inflammation. This one wanted it for knee pain. It kind of was a person-to-person type of business in the beginning, and these hemp farmers were producing it, and they decided, I think that this is something that we need to incorporate here. And her husband was in agriculture. He was in the financial end of agriculture. So he was in that industry of agriculture himself. And they partnered with the 6th generation farmers. They're called the Wootens, the Wooten family. Mm-hmm. And they had already gotten the government's, they were certified organic. They were actually a test farm before the bill was passed. And they were already certified organic and already considered the farm to look at from the Hemp Roundtable. So that was already in place. And Green Compass, it's actually Green Compass Global, even though we're only in the US right now. And that's how it started. And it was just a mom that was dealing with postpartum issues and wanting to give it to her family. And it hatched into this company. And they decided to use the channel for marketing instead of selling it in stores. They wanted it to be person to person. And so we are 1099 distributors, and we work under the umbrella of Green Compass, and we get our website and everything. So as a business, that's how it works. So if you wanted to be a distributor, you could, and as long as you're 18. And so it's a great way to share something that you're passionate and love. And also, I like to say I support my whole household. I have 4 adult kids, 2 son-in-laws, a mother-in-law, and a dog. And I am supporting their household with my business.
That's amazing. Just from that standpoint alone, that's able to be done. That's amazing. I think really though here the thing I'm finding so interesting, and are the plants coming from the Carolinas, and is that where they come from?
So in North Carolina, I actually visited the farm, and I have one of the plants right here. I have one of the, this is what it looks like right here.
That's amazing.
At the farm. Yeah. So we actually walk through the fields and everything. They hand pick the flowers, the farmers. Like it is so hands-on in their labs. We were able to see in their labs the way that they make the jellies, and it's truly remarkable how hands-on they are and how much they can produce. I mean, we have enough to go for 3 years.
Oh wow,
we're never gonna run out.
That's amazing. And now it's not just jellies, right? There's other options. Mm-hmm. There's drinks, there's tinctures, there's talk more about that. Help me understand, I guess, what are the benefits for people to use different products? Because I'm sure different products provide different assistance for the healing process.
Yes.
So what is typically, we'll call it generally everyone, I guess gummies is the normal thing because people want to feel better. They want to feel less tired, less anxiety. But what other options are there?
So
in the greenhouse office?
we call them jellies. So
Okay.
that's our names, because gummies are more of a marijuana connotation. So if you went to our website, you would see CBD jellies.
Got it.
And I like to say you get servings. So you can take 1 serving, 2 servings, 3 servings, because it's a superfood instead of doses, because that makes you think of it as a drug.
Yeah.
So I use that language to kind of differentiate why this is something separate from the drug. But there's also, on the other side of the coin, hemp. There is hemp THC, and it's legal up to 10 milligrams to have hemp THC. And that's what you see like when you go to a bar and they're serving THC drinks. So we do have THC drinks, and we do have one jelly that has half of a microdose of THC, hemp-derived THC, with CBD, which is amazing. It's only 2.5 milligrams of THC with 25 milligrams of CBD. And I have a lot of clients that prefer that for the nighttime. And you have a totally different experience too with hemp THC. It's never going to make you anxious. The worst thing that could happen is you just want to go to sleep.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So if you're consuming, and again, this is just, my ignorance, and obviously you're not an attorney, but you're consuming this THC, is this something because, like you said, it's under a threshold that it makes it kosher for, we'll call it the state of Florida? Again, just because most of my listeners
throughout the whole country. Yes.
The whole country. So you can, because of the amount that's in there. So you're not going to be drinking this drink and you're not going to sit there and start laughing and being silly. That's not what's transpiring here. It's just an accoutrement to the CBD.
Yeah, so the THC drinks, so you have to be 21 for
Makes
the
sense.
THC drinks. And they have, right now it's 4 milligrams. It's soon to be 5. Next month they'll start being 5, which is 1 microdose. 5 milligrams is a microdose. And we do not have CBD in our drinks. We actually use CBG. So there are over 100 cannabinoids. We're finding more all the time. Like, this plant is truly a gift from God, and it was banned 150 or so years ago because scientists didn't understand cannabis there was different. Yeah. And so what happens is our bodies make it. We just are not getting the additional to bridge the gap of what we need for our lifestyles. We were getting that supplemented through, it grew wild in vegetation. All the animal products that we were consuming, we're eating it. So we were bridging the gap. And now for 3-4 generations, we don't have it. And what it does, I didn't get into the aspect of how it works in your body, but to answer your question, there are recreational type products. We have 3 products. We have the jelly that has the 2.5. And when I say recreational, all I mean is that it's a great alternative to alcohol or to smoking marijuana or having marijuana. Like, have a hemp THC jelly instead as a replacement. It also, because it has the hemp jelly, we call it Unwind. That's the name of it, Unwind. Because it has the 25 milligrams of CBD as well, you're getting all the benefits, the anti-inflammatory benefits, all the other benefits that you would get. So it's really a great combo jelly for the person that wants just a little something extra. And the drinks, I think they are the best at really elevating your mood and relaxing you. It helps with great sleep. You wake up feeling refreshed. It's a great replacement for those people that are looking to either cut back on their alcohol consumption or replace it. And it's healthy. All the ingredients are certified organic. And we were actually voted #1 most innovative beverage of the year.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
that was that was a huge accomplishment. And the judges actually said, what is this company? Who are they? Because there was brand like Pepsi had drinks and they didn't get voted, and they didn't even know that we
You make them
existed.
angry.
And so the drinks taste amazing. We have 3 flavors, soon to be 4. In May, we'll have a 4th flavor. And we also have a little packet called a Snap, which is unflavored. It's a little liquid, and you just put it in any drink. So if you're going for a lunch meeting and everyone's sitting at the table, you can just pop it in your iced tea, and it will just help elevate your mood and take the edge off. Whereas a lot of people might get an Aperol Spritz or a Bloody Mary, and you can have your little Snap, and it's considered a mocktail.
Yeah,
So
and I think I'm finding it's
great.
funny you talked about mocktail and alcohol alternatives, and this is something I'm finding more of, is that this generation millennial, generation Z is not consuming as much alcohol beverages, right? I think our post-COVID world has adjusted to a more interesting in, and it's interesting to me, interested in health, wellness, but also living life. It seems like
Yeah.
that has shifted significantly. I'm not sure if your data from sales reports also say the same thing, where people are more interested in having a good time. And it was funny, I had a podcast a couple days ago with somebody, and we talked about the same thing: is that people are not, CEOs are no longer bourbon cigar smokers. They are at the gym doing CrossFit, taking supplements, protein powder. They are a different
Hmm.
breed now. The world is changing. And with
Yes.
that world kind of changing, we'll just flash back. When you were in high school, is this what you thought you'd be doing, was selling
Oh no.
CBD products with THC? I got to imagine that that was not something you're, we'll call it, you're not a street pharmacist in ways, but at the same time, you're providing
Yeah.
people with alternative solutions to pain relief and feeling better.
Yes.
Is that so? What did you think when you were growing up and you were, going through your life? Did you think this would be something you'd be doing? Because everyone has a
No.
journey, but everyone's journey is so different. What did you think was going to go on, and what did you see the world for Dawn look like?
So, growing up, I have a story about my growing up. I'll just be really brief.
Yeah.
My dad died when I was 5. My mom was 25, and my brother was 3, and we were kind of thrown into time to grow. Like at 5 years old, I felt like I needed to take care of my mother, and so I always had that intrinsic motivation. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, I always tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, there's one thing you have to really have is intrinsic motivation. Like you don't need anybody standing over you telling you have to do something. You're going to just do it.
Right.
And so that kind of hatched then. And when I went when I was in high school, I was highly motivated to do my best. My mom had remarried, and I had a new dad that raised me, and he was amazing, but he was very type A and very driven. He was the guy that would wake me up on a Saturday morning and say, "It's 8 o'clock. You're wasting your day, and let's go for a run." I mean, I was 10 years old, and I'd be running 4 miles. He'd be like, "Go faster," like always pushing me. Some kids don't do well with that. I loved it and I thrived with it. He would challenge me, get straight A's, do this, do that. So I was always very motivated to do the best and push myself the furthest that I could. And I had gotten used to being uncomfortable at a young age, doing things that were outside of my comfort zone. And even now I'm 61, and I tell people all the time, do one thing every day that makes you uncomfortable. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you relevant, it keeps your mind, always thinking and
Yeah, being agile.
overcoming. Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was my upbringing. And then in high school, reaching that level of having, like, being that student that got straight A's, got into the college that everybody wanted to get, all those things. I wasn't that person that it came naturally. I just had to work harder than everyone else, get up earlier, stay up later. So I was used to that kind of life. And when I went to college, same thing. It was it was a stretch for me to be at that college, and I got in, so I knew I belonged there, but it was a stretch for me to keep up that pace. And when I got out of college, I decided that I wanted to get into sales because I felt like I could control more of what I was doing in my income. So I got a job in a manufacturer. I was the first female. So because of my age, I graduated in 87 from Boston College, and I was the first female to be hired in the Northeast division for a company that's no longer in business, and they were a business forms manufacturer. And if you can remember, probably not your generation, but a lot of people may be listening to this, computers were just starting, and we used to have these pen feed, the way the computers were pen feed paper, and you would have to have a perforation and then you'd rip it
On
off.
the
Like we didn't
side.
have the laser printers and stuff like
Yep.
that. And so business forms were really big, and mailers and things like that. So I was, like I said, I was the first female hired in the Northeast in a very male dominated industry. And that excited me because I felt like I was going to prove that I could actually be just as good as anybody else or better. And we didn't have all the laws about sexual harassment. I mean, you name it, I experienced it, and we just had to have grit, and you just dealt with it.
Is that what that says right in the background behind you as
Yes,
well? Is
grit.
grit. But so you took that and that's amazing, first of all. So thank you for working to be a pioneer, because I've had other women on the podcast here. Dr. Ann Mana, same thing. MBA from Harvard, doctorate, doctor itself, opened up 6 private practices in Florida. Amazing woman, pioneer in the
I
industry.
listened to her podcast. You told me about her, and I listened. It was excellent. Thank you.
She's amazing. So just like yourself, pioneer, challenging the status quo, right, with grit and determination. I think that, like, as I talk to all these different entrepreneurs in different times and different genders and different opportunities they've had, I just find that we just keep hearing the same thing. It's that grit and determination at a young age helps shape you into the person you are today. So you went through college, you became the first woman to be able to do this. And I do remember those printers, for the record. So I must be old enough, but I do remember them, and I remember them jamming all the
fax
time.
machine.
Well, I still have a fax machine. It may be a digital fax machine, but I still have one. I feel like an old man when people tell me I can fax them. But so as you're moving through the business world, you're in sales, and bridge us from that position, and you could fast forward, you could do however you'd like to do it, to how did you decide, hey, I want to be a 1099 contractor? Because I think that's something a lot of people don't understand. 1099 is a type of pay schedule versus W-2. W-2 is an employment contract. 1099 is typically an independent contractor. Those are 2 different business models as someone jumps into the marketplace to be either as an employee or a job seeker, that you have opportunities. You don't have to take a traditional route. And your traditional route, as you said, has been lucrative and helpful for others. So bridge the gap for me on some timelines.
Sure. So when I was in that industry, I did end up excelling because I broke barriers with a male dominated. They wanted a 23-year-old, 22-year-old woman coming to visit them and giving them quotes on business forms, making them homemade brownies and all kinds of things. And I was able to get into accounts that no one else was able to because I was a woman. And I was actually, my boss kept cutting my territory and giving it to other guys that had families, saying, well, you don't need it, they do. And that just motivated me to work harder and make up for it. And when I met my husband, he was in the printing industry. He was actually one of my vendors because I was also allowed to broker out from the manufacturing end of things if we couldn't manufacture something. And we ended up getting married, and I ended up leaving that company, and 90% of my clients came with me as a broker.
Wow.
Yes.
A lot.
That was like it hit hard. My boss was hit hard. We didn't have any of those contracts back then,
Yeah.
not to
Non-compete and
compete and
such.
all that. And I
Yeah.
did everything above books. I didn't take any files. I just went one by one and said, "You can come with me or stay, whatever."
Well, hey,
But
at the end of the day, if they like you more, I mean, that's, it's a different world today. But back then, hey,
Mhm.
at the end of the day,
Yeah,
best man or woman wins. So,
yes. So I was able to. So that's when I was on my own. Now I went from a W-2 working for a manufacturer that got commission. I had a salary plus commission
mhm.
to working with my husband in a family business and being a broker. And I wanted to start a family, so wanted to have a home office. I had 4 kids and was able to keep my business going. And then right after my third child, I was struck with 3 incurable diseases, and I was bedridden for 2 years.
Oh
And
my
I had
God.
to go on unemployment. I couldn't actually do a math equation. And in my mind, like that's how bad I was. And I had you like that come to Jesus moment, and that's literally what it was. My faith had always been very religious oriented, like checking the boxes, and it totally shifted with a relationship with God in a way that was very deep and intimate because I was in a place where I didn't have a choice. Facing your mortality at 33 years old is not like something that you plan on with 3 little kids under 5. And I was miraculously healed. 3 women prayed over me, um, uh, believers, Christians, Christ followers, however you want to coin it. And I was healed instantly. And I never took another nap. And I actually, within time, because I couldn't really walk with atrophy, I built up and I ran a 10-mile race. 3 years later, conceived my
Wow.
4th child. He has none of the diseases that I would have passed on. And so that was a miracle right there. And
Yeah.
when something like that happens to you, you live life differently. So
Mhm.
I decided when I went back into the business world, I hit my 50s and printing business with technology, it was a dinosaur. And my husband and I had to start over. He became a yacht broker, and I got into personal care industry, helping to impact health protective laws. Actually went to DC and was able to held a congressional briefing with 5 other people, and we actually passed our first personal care bill in 86 years. And that really lit my fire. And I was selling products that were clean and safe. To drive this advocacy, we were selling products, and we were a movement. And because of that advocacy and because of that that desire to be doing something in my 50s that was going to leave the world a better place for my children and as a legacy, when Green Compass came under my radar and I saw what they were doing in DC, I saw what they were doing as a company, I saw what the power of this plant could do, I said, this is something that I think I can do into my next phase of my life. I call Green Compass my encore business because this is just an add-on to what I've been doing my whole life. I'm just passionate about helping people and giving people alternatives to what's out there as far as pharmaceuticals go. And I'm not saying that this replaces pharmaceuticals, but it's an alternative, and it's also safe to do alongside of pharmaceuticals because it's a neuroprotector. It will mitigate side effects, and that's where I would love to share a little bit about what it actually does in your body, if we have time. So
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think it's amazing. So to me, to sum that all up, a life-changing event puts you on this path to help others, and you've been doing that for a few decades
yes,
now. And more specifically, the way that you're, articulating it, and I think it's amazing, is that you're not throwing the baby out the bathwater, right? You're not saying don't trust Western medicine. You're just saying, hey, there's an alternative that others could go down, and at the end of the day, it's a personal choice whether they want to or not. But it sounds like, again, there's data, it's driven data that these things do help. And I'm sure everyone would like to learn a little bit more about how does it work exactly then.
Yes. So our body, we have all different systems in our body, right? And a lot of people talk about the endocrine system. Well, we also have an endocannabinoid system. And this was not discovered until the 1990s. So as you can see, this is so new. Only about 17% of medical schools are actually teaching doctors about the endocannabinoid system. And this system has receptors throughout the entire body. Every single organ has receptors, and 90% of our body is covered with this endocannabinoid system, these receptors. Majority of the receptors are in your brain, and the second most place is your reproductive organs. So people that have very simple, basic things like I just get anxious, or I just feel a little overwhelmed, or it just takes the edge off, or it puts me in a better mood, or whatever, like very simple things, that's why it works, because it fills those receptors and it gives the body what it needs. And what it needs is homeostasis. So what hemp does is puts the body into homeostasis, which is same as balance, same word as balance. And I like to always give illustrations that really dumb it down, like I did about the citrus orchard. Yeah. And the illustration I like to give is, if you think of Christmas lights and you think of a strand of lights, and when we're putting up the lights, if one bulb is out, the whole strand goes out. So if you look at your endocannabinoid system, if there is a receptor that is deficient, it's different. It's bio-individual. So I struggled with sleep. Now I don't. You may have no problems with sleep. You may struggle with focus, or maybe it's inflammation or whatever. So it finds wherever those deficiencies are, and it fills it. And then all of a sudden the whole strand goes on. Okay. So if you think of your system that way, there's actually science saying that your endocannabinoid system is pushing your whole body. It's the car driving your body. And that has been so, if you look at where we are right now, how many people are not in balance, not in homeostasis, that are reliant on pharmaceuticals. And what happens now is that if you look at like a mobile that turns around over a baby's crib, right? If you put a paper clip on one of those sides, all of a sudden the mobile is all off balance, okay? So with each pharmaceutical that it might be helping that person, it's going to have side effects. And we see that all the time when we hear the disclaimers, may cause this, may cause that, whatever. Yeah, so now you have... Long. Right. And now you have that paper clip. So you say, okay, I'm having these side effects. I need something else. So you put another paper clip, and then another paper clip. And then you have somebody that's like, okay, I'm taking 6, then 7, then 8. You have little kids taking them for focus, and their doctors are like prescribing things. There are alternatives. Why not try a superfood like hemp that's certified organic, that's third-party tested, the flower only, like all those things, and see how your 5-year-old does, and see if it helps them with their sleep or their anxiousness. Why not? And so with taking the hemp and bringing the body into balance, it's literally taking those little paper clips off one by one, so that you're in balance.
And I just don't understand why doctors want to live. Yeah, I'm just so surprised that more doctors aren't looking at this. And I get it, because we've had a few physicians on here. They talk about being overwhelmed. The system is broken. Yeah. They don't feel like they're getting what they need. They're overwhelmed with patients. Patients are coming back 4 or 5 times a month because they're trying to adjust medications. And, anybody who's over 40 understands most of this, because they may have some type of medical thing that they're working on, that it takes so long to get prescriptions correct. If this is such a help, in my mind, and I know sometimes I use that keep it simple, silly acronym in my mind, and I look at it and I go, but why is nobody, is it the stigma? Is it is it pricing? Is it availability? Is it just not knowledge? Is that really what it is? And I hope people, when they watch this, they say, okay, well, here, first of all, somebody obviously knows what they're talking about, right? You've been in the industry for a little while, but you're obviously well-versed in what it does, how it helps, where it comes from. You're sourcing it, you're understanding it. You're not getting this from Temu, right? This is not the same type of quality that you're going to get, whether it be the material or the person providing it. So to me, I look at it and go, wow, well, why aren't other people seeing this as an option? And I hope, my hope at least, is that when people see stuff like this, they say, hey, there are alternatives, there are other options. How can we mainstream more of these things so that we can have alternatives? Because I think that's, I always say post-COVID, everyone's looking for an alternative for anything and everything, right? We've now have water that's in cans. We have more products with caffeine in them that I can even pronounce. Some that are built just down here in Boca that are worked down here. And I look at this stuff and I go, it's more stuff that is just making us more sickly. How do we remove the bad, what we keep putting in our bodies? And if this is something that does that, I'm perplexed by why others wouldn't see this stuff as opportunities. It blows my mind away. But Dawn, I do have one question for you though. And if you watch the full episode, you may know what I'm going to in a second. And I ask this of all my podcasts, patients who come on, if you could ask anybody anything, one question, one person, whether they be with us today or above, what would be that thing you ask that person, or who that person would be that you'd ask that question to?
Wow. I didn't hear that one on your other podcast. I heard.
You see, you didn't stay to the end. See, that's the trick. I get everybody.
I did. I wrote down some of your questions because I listened to a few of them.
cheating on me here. You see.
I think the question I would ask is, what is your source? And I know that this really isn't anything to do with Green Compass or being an entrepreneur, but what is your source? Meaning, like, where is your belief system based on? Is it yourself or is it God? And I think that's what I would ask, because at the end of the day, when we take our last breaths, we all have to face that. And that's what motivates you. So the way I look at it is, I would ask, what motivates you and why? And that would be the question I would ask. And I had to learn that in my 30s, which I think is very young for people. But I experienced death at the age of 5 in a very personal way too. So I think we all have to face our mortality, and that's an important thing. And that's probably why I'm so passionate about health and wellness, is because I want the best quality of life, because it's precious.
Memento mori, right? We all must die. Fortunately, unfortunately, it's a blessing given, and we should not waste it.
Taxes, death.
Death. The two things that will come, and those were just yesterday. If everybody's listening, and this is the 16th of April, but yesterday was tax day, so we were all joking about tax day.
Yes.
But Dawn, thank you so much for coming on today. I truly appreciate it. I think the viewership is now well informed. I'm excited to see who calls me about this, because I'm sure I'm going to get some calls. But before we say goodbye, I need to make sure people know how to find you. So how do they find Dawn? Where do they go? Is it Instagram? Is it a phone number? How can I find Dawn and receive some of these CBD goodies? Because I think there are people who are going to have some questions.
Yes. So I am on Instagram. It's Purely Dawn, one word, Purely Dawn. And, or they can text me, which is what I prefer, because I find that this is a very personal thing where people ask questions. And my number is 518-369-3215.
Awesome. Thank you for that, because I know I always get the question at the end. I put all your things in the description, but we like to make sure, just in case, because it comes from the horse's mouth, and who's better to hear it than from you, the listeners, hearing right directly from you. Well, Dawn, I really appreciate it. I feel like I got the education I was missing on CBD, because I was definitely lacking in that department. I had absolutely no idea. So I really appreciate that. And I know that everybody out there is going to be asking questions. So I'm hoping we get some good comments and some good questions thrown your way. Thanks again, Dawn. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to have a jelly. Say goodbye.
Thanks, Dawn.